This is Skyler Moore, and this segment is on the basics of contracts to protect you from ending up not owning the rights that you thought you did and to end up in litigation. I want to teach you the basics approach to how to protect yourself. Number one, don't rely on oral contracts. What people say is not worth the time of day. I see too many people running around relying on oral contracts. And number one, in the film industry, they're generally not enforceable because films involve copyrights. Copyrights have to be in writing and signed. And so if you don't have that, you don't have a contract. Don't start production based on some oral commitment by somebody to give you financing. Don't do press releases. Don't start production. Don't rely on oral contracts. Memories differ. They're too ambiguous. They're not enforceable. That should be a no-brainer. It's amazing how many times in Hollywood I see this over and over and over. Don't go there. Second worst thing you can do is to rely on these half-baked deal memos, letters of intent, or term sheets. We'll put them all in one category and let's call them half-baked contracts. For some reason, Hollywood loves these, and they are the bane of my existence and your existence. They're never thought through. They're always deal with half the issues because at the end they always say long form to follow, and everyone then gets sloppy and doesn't deal with what are the material terms. Half the time they're not even clear whether they're legally binding or not, which is just inexcusable. Always go for a final contract that deals with all the issues, not just half of them, and you can make them short, final, and binding. And here's how you do it, in particular making them short. All you have to do is a few things. One is you have to know the default rules, which I'm going to teach you in this segment of these series of courses, so that you know what the backdrop is that you walk into when you draft the contract. For example, if a default rule works in your favor, you don't need to deal with it in the contract. You can leave it out. Second, avoid all the boilerplate at the end. You've probably seen this. There's always pages and pages of notice provisions and provisions saying that, for example, if a clause isn't enforceable, then it's not enforceable. And I've seen them as ridiculous as defining the word and or an and/or. Like, you can skip the boilerplate. Most of that is implied by law anyway. You can also skip all the recitals in the beginning of a contract. That is, you've seen this, whereas lawyers since the time of the Norman invasion have said things several times because it used to be in French and English, and whereas, you can drop all that. It's meaningless. Shorten your contracts. You should always have a index of a table of contents, so that, because you're going to live with this contract for years, so that you can quickly find the provision that you're looking for. So have a table of contents in the front and with page numbers so you know where your headings are. Always have a glossary of defined terms in alphabetical order. There is nothing more aggravating than have to go through pages and pages of a contract looking for a defined term. Half the time they're capitalized and not defined, or they are inconsistent definitions. If you put all your definitions in alphabetical order in the front, it'll make your life 10 times simpler. It'll make the contract logical. And your goal with every contract is to make it the brevity and simplicity and power of the equation E equals MC squared. Make every word count. If you follow these rules, you will be able to have short, concise, complete contracts that protect you and keep you out of litigation. This is Sky Moore signing off. Please tune in for the next segment.